The silver pen slipped from Bella Henderson's trembling fingers, clattering against the polished mahogany desk as she stared at the man sitting across from her, wondering if she'd finally lost her mind. Xavier Cross, CEO of Cross Luxury Resorts, the hospitality empire that owned over 200 high-end properties worldwide, had just asked her to dinner. Not a business dinner, an actual date. "I don't think that's a good idea," she said, reaching down to retrieve the pen, grateful for the excuse to break eye contact. Her heart hammered against her ribs and she could feel heat creeping up her neck. "Why not?" His voice was calm, measured, but there was something underneath it that made her pulse quicken. Xavier leaned back in his chair, his tailored charcoal suit fitting him perfectly, dark hair slightly tousled from the long day of meetings. He'd been nothing but professional during the 3 weeks she'd been auditing his company's financial records. But the way he looked at her sometimes made her forget how to breathe. Bella had been working as a senior auditor at Morrison and Associates for 6 years. She'd built a reputation for being thorough, unshakable, and completely focused on the numbers. Romance had taken a back seat to her career, especially after everything that had happened. She couldn't afford distractions. "Because I'm here to do a job," she said, setting the pen down carefully and meeting his gaze. "And because mixing business with personal matters never ends well." "The audit will be finished by Friday," Xavier said, glancing at the calendar on his phone. "It's Tuesday. I'm asking you to dinner this weekend. No conflict of interest." She should say no. Every logical part of her brain screamed at her to decline politely and maintain professional boundaries. But there was something about Xavier Cross that had gotten under her skin from the moment she'd walked into his office 3 weeks ago. He was different from other executives she'd worked with. He remembered his employees' names, asked about their families, and when she'd been working late one evening, he'd brought her coffee without being asked, the exact way she liked it. "I have too much baggage," she finally said, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. It was the truth, raw and vulnerable, and she immediately regretted it. Xavier leaned forward, his dark eyes never leaving hers. "Then I'll carry every piece and never complain once." The sincerity in his voice made something crack inside her chest. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe that someone could look at all her broken parts and not run in the opposite direction. "You don't know what you're saying," Bella whispered. "Try me." She took a deep breath, her fingers twisting together in her lap. "I have a 7-year-old daughter. Her father left when I was 5 months pregnant. I'm a single mom working 60-hour weeks trying to give her a decent life. I have student loans that won't be paid off until I'm 40. My mother has early onset dementia, and I help pay for her care facility. I haven't been on a date in 3 years because by the time I get home, help Maya with homework, make sure she's fed and bathed and happy, I barely have enough energy to shower before collapsing into bed. That's my life. That's my baggage." The silence that followed felt like an eternity. Bella forced herself to maintain eye contact, waiting for the inevitable retreat, the polite excuse, the sudden remembering of a prior commitment. Instead, Xavier reached across the desk and gently took her hand. "Saturday at 7, he said softly. "I'll pick you up. Bring Maya if you want." "I'd love to meet her." Bella's eyes widened. "You want to meet my daughter on a first date? You just told me she's the most important part of your life. Why wouldn't I want to meet her?" Xavier's thumb traced small circles on the back of her hand, and she couldn't remember the last time such a simple touch had affected her so profoundly. "But if you'd rather have adult time, I understand that too. Whatever makes you comfortable." "I have a babysitter lined up for Saturday actually," Bella said, almost surprised at herself for agreeing. "My neighbor watches her sometimes. Maya loves Mrs. Chen. Then it's a date," Xavier smiled, and it transformed his entire face. She'd seen him in business mode for weeks, all sharp edges and calculated decisions. This smile was something else entirely, warm and genuine and devastating. The rest of the week passed in a blur of spreadsheets and financial statements. Bella found herself constantly distracted, replaying their conversation, second-guessing her decision, then talking herself back into giving this a chance. She hadn't told anyone about the date, not even her best friend Rachel, because saying it out loud would make it real and terrifying. Friday afternoon, she submitted her final audit report. Xavier's company was in excellent financial health, no discrepancies, nothing concerning. She emailed it to him along with her supervisor, then spent an embarrassing amount of time staring at her inbox, waiting for a response. His reply came 10 minutes later. Report received. Thank you for your thorough work. Still on for tomorrow. She typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on a simple yes. Saturday evening arrived too quickly. Bella stood in front of her closet, wearing only a towel, surrounded by rejected outfit options scattered across her bed. Maya sat cross-legged on the floor, eating apple slices and offering commentary. "The blue dress is pretty," Maya said, pointing to a navy cocktail dress Bella had bought 2 years ago for a wedding and never worn again. "It might be too fancy," Bella said, holding it up against herself and studying her reflection in the mirror. "Where are you going again?" "Just dinner with a friend." Maya tilted her head, her dark curls bouncing. She had Bella's brown eyes and stubborn chin. "Is it a boy friend or a girl friend?" "A friend who happens to be a boy," Bella said carefully. "A man, actually." "Is he nice?" "I think so. I hope so." "Then wear the blue dress," Maya decided with the certainty only a 7-year-old could possess. "You look like a princess in it." Bella's heart squeezed. "Thank you, baby." She was just finishing her makeup when the doorbell rang at exactly 7 o'clock. Punctual, she liked that. Taking a deep breath, she grabbed her purse and opened the door. Xavier stood on her doorstep holding a bouquet of sunflowers, wearing dark jeans and a crisp white button-down with the sleeves rolled to his forearms. He looked different outside the office, more relaxed, somehow younger. "These are for you," he said, offering the flowers. "The florist tried to sell me roses, but these seemed more like you, bright and impossible to ignore." Bella felt herself blush as she took them. "They're beautiful. Come in for a second while I put these in water." Xavier stepped into her small apartment, and she suddenly saw it through his eyes. The space was clean but cramped. Furniture from thrift stores and family hand-me-downs. Toys neatly organized in colorful bins. Maya's artwork covering most of the refrigerator. It was a far cry from the world he lived in, and she felt a flutter of insecurity. "Mom, is this him?" Maya appeared from the hallway, curiosity overcoming shyness. "Maya, this is Mr. Cross. Xavier, this is my daughter Maya." Xavier crouched down to Maya's level, extending his hand. "It's very nice to meet you, Maya. Your mom talks about you all the time." Maya shook his hand solemnly. "She talks about you too. She said you're just a friend, but she bought a new dress." "Maya." Bella's face burned. Xavier laughed, a genuine, delighted sound. "Well, I'm honored. And for the record, I also bought a new shirt for tonight." "It's nice," Maya approved. "Are you going to marry my mom?" "Okay, that's enough interrogation for one evening," Bella said quickly, ushering Maya toward Mrs. Chen, who had just arrived. "Be good. Bedtime is 8:30. Call me if you need anything." Once they were finally in Xavier's car, a sleek black sedan that probably cost more than Bella made in a year, she covered her face with her hands. "I am so sorry about that. She's at the age where she has absolutely no filter." "Don't apologize," Xavier said, pulling away from the curb. "She's wonderful. I can see so much of you in her." "The stubbornness." the honesty, the intelligence in her eyes, the way she sizes people up. He glanced over at her, a small smile playing at his lips. She was protecting you. I respect that. They drove to a restaurant Bella had only read about in magazines, the kind of place that required reservations months in advance. The maitre d' greeted Xavier by name and led them to a private table on the terrace overlooking the city lights. "This is too much," Bella said as she sat down. "This is dinner," Xavier replied, settling across from her, "with someone I've wanted to have dinner with for 3 weeks. You could have asked sooner. You would have said no sooner." He wasn't wrong. The waiter appeared with menus and wine recommendations. Bella barely heard him, too focused on the man across from her, the way candlelight played across his features, the intensity in his eyes when he looked at her. "Tell me something about you that has nothing to do with work," she said once they'd ordered. Xavier considered the question, swirling the wine in his glass. "I'm terrified of birds. When I was 8, a goose chased me around a pond for 20 minutes. I've never fully recovered." Bella laughed, the sound surprising her. "A powerful CEO afraid of geese, vicious creatures," he said seriously, but his eyes crinkled with humor. "Your turn. Tell me something you've never told anyone." She thought about deflecting, keeping things light and surface level. But he'd asked her on a date knowing about her complicated life. He'd crouched down to talk to her daughter with genuine kindness. Maybe he deserved more than her carefully constructed walls. "I'm scared all the time," she admitted quietly. "Scared I'm not enough for Maya. Scared I'm failing my mom. Scared that I'm wasting my life buried in spreadsheets and never taking risks. Scared that I'll wake up at 50 and realize I let fear make all my decisions." Xavier reached across the table and took her hand, the gesture becoming familiar already. "You're here tonight. That's not fear making decisions. This is probably the most terrifying thing I've done in years." "Good," he said softly. "The best things usually are." Dinner was incredible, both the food and the conversation. They talked about everything from childhood memories to favorite books to travel dreams. Xavier told her about starting his company at 25 with a single rundown motel and a mountain of debt, working 18-hour days for years to build it into what it was today. Bella shared stories about Maya, about her own childhood growing up with a single mom who worked 3 jobs to keep them afloat. "Is that why you became an accountant?" Xavier asked. "Financial security, partly," Bella admitted. "I'm good with numbers. They make sense to me in a way people often don't. And yes, I wanted stability. I wanted to never have to choose between electricity and groceries, which was a choice my mom had to make more than once." "That's not something you'll ever have to worry about again if I have anything to say about it," Xavier said, then paused. "Sorry, that was presumptuous. I'm getting ahead of myself." "Are you?" Bella asked, her heart racing. "Yes, no, maybe." He ran a hand through his hair, looking uncharacteristically uncertain. "I'm not usually like this. I'm the person who plans everything 5 steps in advance, but with you, all I can think about is right now. This moment. The way you bite your lip when you're thinking. The way your eyes light up when you talk about your daughter. The way you made me want to be better just by existing in my office every day for 3 weeks." Bella couldn't breathe. "Xavier, I don't know what to say. Say you'll see me again. Say this isn't just one dinner." "My life is complicated," she warned, even as her heart screamed at her to say yes. "I know, I don't care. You say that now." "Bella." He squeezed her hand gently. "I meant what I said. Every piece of baggage, I'll carry it. I'm not afraid of complicated. I'm afraid of missing out on something extraordinary because it requires effort." She looked at him, really looked at him. Xavier Cross, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, who could have anyone he wanted, who had built an empire through sheer determination and intelligence. and he was looking at her like she was the most valuable thing in the world. "Okay," she whispered. "Yes, I want to see you again." His smile could have powered the entire city. They stayed at the restaurant until closing, reluctant to let the evening end. Xavier drove her home slowly, taking the scenic route, and they sat in his car outside her apartment for another hour just talking. When he finally walked her to her door, he cupped her face gently and pressed a soft kiss to her forehead. "Thank you for taking a chance on me," he murmured against her skin. "Thank you for being worth the risk," she replied. Over the next few months, Xavier proved every word he'd said that first night. He didn't just accept Maya's presence in Bella's life, he embraced it. He showed up to Maya's school play with flowers, learned her favorite bedtime stories, and never once made Bella feel guilty for putting her daughter first. When Bella had to cancel a date because Maya was sick, Xavier arrived an hour later with soup, children's medicine, and a stuffed animal that made Maya smile despite her fever. He asked thoughtful questions about Bella's mother, visited the care facility with her, and sat patiently while Bella's mom repeated the same stories 3 times, treating her with gentle dignity. He never made Bella feel like her responsibilities were burdens he had to tolerate. Instead, he found ways to lighten her load without making her feel diminished. "I can pay for a better care facility for your mom," Xavier offered one evening as they sat on Bella's couch, Maya asleep in her room. "I know the one she's in is decent, but there's a place across town with a better dementia program and a higher staff-to-patient ratio." Bella stiffened. "I can't let you do that." "Why not?" "Because it's too much. Because I need to take care of my own family. Because accepting that kind of help feels like admitting I can't handle my own life." The words tumbled out, edged with frustration and exhaustion. Xavier turned to face her fully, his expression serious. "Bella, letting someone help you isn't weakness. It's trust. I have resources I'm fortunate enough to have. Using them to make life better for people I care about brings me joy. Please don't take that away from me because of pride." "It's not just pride," she said quietly. "I'm scared. What happens if we don't work out? Then I've let you pay for things I can't afford to maintain, and I'm dependent on you. And that's exactly what I swore I'd never let happen again. I would never hold that over you. If we didn't work out, which I have no intention of happening, your mother's care wouldn't change. I'd set up a trust specifically for that. You'd have control. But Bella, we need to talk about the elephant in the room." "What elephant?" "The one where you're waiting for me to leave. You've been waiting for it since our first date. Every time I do something nice, I can see you bracing for impact, waiting for the catch. The moment I reveal this was all temporary." His voice was gentle but firm. "I'm not him. I'm not Maya's father. I'm not going to wake up one day and decide you're too much work." Tears pricked at Bella's eyes. "How did you know?" "Because you flinch every time I say I love you. You smile, you say it back, but there's always this split second where you expect me to add but at the end." Xavier took her hands in his. "I love you, no qualifiers, no conditions. Not despite your baggage, but including all of it, because it's part of what made you who you are. And who you are is the most remarkable person I've ever met." "I love you too," Bella whispered, and for the first time, she let herself believe it could last. "I'm sorry I keep waiting for disaster. It's hard to unlearn. Then let me help you learn something new. Let me show you every single day that I'm not going anywhere." And he did. Xavier integrated himself into their lives so seamlessly that Bella sometimes forgot what it had been like before him. He taught Maya to ride a bike in the park, his patience endless as she wobbled and fell and got back up again. He cooked breakfast on Sunday mornings, pancakes shaped like animals that made Maya giggle. He held Bella at night when the weight of everything threatened to crush her, whispering reassurances, until she could breathe again. 6 months into their relationship, Xavier asked Bella and Maya to move in with him. His penthouse had 4 bedrooms, a ridiculous amount of space, and a view that made Maya gasp the first time she saw it. "I don't know," Bella said, standing in the middle of the living room that was bigger than her entire apartment. "This is a lot." "It's just space," Xavier said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "Space for you to not work at the kitchen table because there's no office. Space for Maya to have friends over without everyone being cramped. Space for your mom to visit and have her own room when she has good days." "It's just space, Bella. But what I'm really asking for is a life. A shared life. With you, with Maya. Building something together." Maya was already in the bedroom Xavier had said would be hers, exclaiming over the window seat and the built-in bookshelves. Bella watched her daughter's joy and felt her resistance crumbling. What if Maya gets too attached and then something happens? What if something wonderful happens and we miss it because we're too scared to try? Xavier turned her to face him. "I can't promise nothing will ever go wrong. Life doesn't work that way, but I can promise I'll fight for this, for us. Every single day. That's not a guarantee of perfection. It's a commitment to keep choosing you even when things get hard." They moved in 2 weeks later. Bella kept her apartment for the first month, a safety net she couldn't quite bring herself to let go of, until Xavier found the lease renewal notice and gently asked what she was afraid of. "I keep thinking I'm going to wake up," she admitted. "That this is too good to be real and reality is going to come crashing back." "Then I'll be here when you wake up," he said simply. "Every morning. I'll be the first thing you see and eventually you'll believe it's real." He was right. Slowly, day by day, Bella let herself relax into the relationship. She let Xavier pay for Maya's private school tuition and her mother's upgraded care facility. She let him buy her things not because she needed them, but because he wanted to give them. She let him love her, fully and without reservation, and she learned to love him the same way. Maya flourished. She called Xavier, Xavier, but looked at him with the trust and affection usually reserved for family. When she fell off the monkey bars at school and broke her arm, she cried for both Bella and Xavier. When she had nightmares, she'd crawl into their bed and burrow between them, finding safety in their presence. "You ever think about having more kids?" Xavier asked one night after they'd settled Maya back in her own bed following a bad dream. Bella's heart skipped. "Do you?" "I'd like to, with you, if you want that." His hand found hers under the covers. "But if you don't, if Maya is all you want, that's okay too." "I just want to know what you're thinking." "I never thought I'd have the chance," Bella said softly. "I assumed I'd be a single mom forever, that Maya would be my only child, but with you I can actually picture it. A baby. A family that's chosen and built together, not fractured and held together with duct tape and determination." "So that's a yes. That's a let's talk about it more. I'm 32. You're 35. We have time. Let's just be us for a while. Let's get married first." "Is that a proposal?" Xavier asked, amusement in his voice. "That's a hint that I wouldn't say no if someone asked." 3 months later, Xavier orchestrated the most elaborate and personal proposal Bella could have imagined. He rented out the aquarium for a private evening, knowing Maya was obsessed with sea turtles. The 3 of them walked through the exhibits, Maya pressing her face against the glass, narrating facts about each creature. In the tunnel beneath the main tank, surrounded by swimming fish and gently swaying kelp, Xavier got down on one knee. He had 2 boxes. One held a ring for Bella, a sapphire surrounded by diamonds that caught the blue light filtering through the water. The other held a smaller ring for Maya, age-appropriate but clearly part of the set. "Bella Henderson, you walked into my office and changed my entire life." You showed me what it means to be strong, to be devoted, to love with your whole heart. I want to spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of that love. Will you marry me?" "Yes," Bella breathed, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, absolutely yes." Xavier slipped the ring on her finger, then turned to Maya. "Maya, I'm not trying to replace your dad or be something I'm not, but I love your mom and I love you. I want to be a family, officially and permanently. I want to be there for school plays and skinned knees and bad days and good days. If it's okay with you, I'd like to adopt you after the wedding. You don't have to decide now, but I want you to know that's what I want. You're not just your mom's daughter, you're our daughter. Both of us." Maya looked at the ring, then at Xavier, then at her mother. "Does this mean we'd have the same last name? If you want that, yes," Xavier said. "Maya Cross," she tested the name. "I like it. Yes. Let's be a family." Bella was crying in earnest now, pulling both Maya and Xavier into a fierce hug. Other aquarium visitors who'd been secretly watching the proposal erupted into applause, but Bella barely heard them. All she could focus on was the feeling of Xavier's arms around her and Maya, solid and real and permanent. They got married 6 months later in a small ceremony at the Botanical Gardens, just close friends and family. Bella's mother had a good day, lucid and present, walking Bella down the aisle with tears in her eyes. Maya was the flower girl, taking her job very seriously, her little ring glinting on her finger. When Xavier said his vows, his voice was steady and sure. "I promise to carry every piece of baggage, every burden, every worry. I promise to love Maya as my own and any children we may have in the future. I promise to be your partner in everything, to never make you feel less than, to build you up when the world tries to tear you down. I promise to choose you every single day for the rest of my life." Bella's vows were simpler but no less heartfelt. "I promise to trust you with my heart and my daughter's heart. I promise to let you love me, really love me, without waiting for the other shoe to drop. I promise to build a life with you filled with laughter and love, and all the messy, beautiful chaos that comes with being a family. I promise to choose you two, every day, forever." When they kissed, Maya cheered louder than anyone, and Bella laughed against Xavier's lips, happier than she'd ever imagined possible. Life settled into a new normal. Bella continued working as an auditor, though she cut back her hours to spend more time with Maya. Xavier made it clear she could stop working entirely if she wanted, but Bella liked her career, liked feeling useful and independent, and Xavier supported whatever made her happy. They had their first fight about 8 months into the marriage. It was stupid, something about Xavier working too much and missing dinner 3 nights in a row. But it escalated, old insecurities rising to the surface, Bella accusing Xavier of not prioritizing family, Xavier frustrated that Bella still didn't fully trust his commitment. "I'm here," Xavier finally shouted, his composure cracking. "I'm here every single day. I married you. I adopted Maya. I rearranged my entire life to fit you into it. What more do I have to do to prove I'm not leaving?" "I don't know," Bella shouted back. "I don't know how to turn off the part of my brain that says this is temporary. I don't know how to stop waiting for you to realize you made a mistake." They stood there, breathing hard, the silence heavy between them. Then Xavier crossed the room and pulled her into his arms, holding her tight even though she initially resisted. "You're not a mistake," he said fiercely. "Loving you is not a mistake. This marriage is not a mistake. And I will tell you that every single day for the rest of our lives if that's what it takes for you to believe it. I'm sorry I've been working too much. You're right. I need to be better about balance. But Bella, you need to stop punishing both of us for what someone else did to you years ago." She broke down then, sobbing into his chest, all the fear and pain she'd been carrying finally spilling out. Xavier held her through it, stroking her hair, murmuring reassurances. They talked for hours that night, really talked, working through the issues they'd been dancing around. It wasn't a magical fix, but it was a start. After that, they both made more effort. Xavier delegated more at work and made it home for dinner at least 5 nights a week. Bella started therapy to work through her abandonment issues, and Xavier came to sessions with her when the therapist suggested couples counseling might help. 2 years into their marriage, Bella found out she was pregnant. She'd been feeling off for a few weeks, but attributed it to stress at work. When the test came back positive, she stared at it for a full 5 minutes, emotions warring inside her. Joy, terror, excitement. Worry. Xavier's reaction was pure, unfiltered elation. He picked her up and spun her around, laughing, already making plans. "We need to tell Maya," he said. "And your mom. And we should start looking at the nursery. Do you want to find out the gender or be surprised? What about names?" Xavier slowed down, Bella said, but she was smiling. "I'm only 6 weeks along. We have time. I know, I'm just happy. Is that okay? Am I allowed to be this happy?" "Yes," she said, touching his face. "You're allowed. We're allowed." Telling Maya was a bigger concern. She was 10 now, settled and secure, but a baby would change the family dynamic. They sat her down one evening after dinner, both of them nervous. "So we have some news," Bella started. "You're going to be a big sister. We're having a baby." Maya's eyes went wide. "Really? When?" "In about 7 months," Xavier said. "How do you feel about that?" Maya was quiet for a moment, processing. "Will you still have time for me?" "Always," Bella and Xavier said in unison. "A baby is going to take up a lot of attention," Bella continued. "Babies need a lot of care, but that doesn't mean we'll love you any less or forget about you. You're our first child, Maya. That doesn't change. Will it be a boy or a girl? We don't know yet. What would you prefer?" Maya considered this seriously. "A sister, I think. We can share clothes when she's bigger, and I can teach her things." "Even if it's a brother, you can teach him things," Xavier said, grinning. "I guess," Maya allowed. "Can I help pick the name?" "Absolutely." The pregnancy was harder than Bella's first. She was older, her body less forgiving. There were complications that required bed rest for the last 2 months, and Bella chafed at the inactivity, at being dependent on others again. Xavier took family leave from work, bringing his laptop home and working from the bedroom while Bella rested. Maya stepped up too, bringing her mother water and snacks, reading to her, trying to be helpful. When Bella finally went into labor, it was fast and intense. Xavier held her hand through every contraction, coached her breathing, never left her side. And when their son was born, tiny and perfect and screaming, Xavier cried as much as Bella did. They named him Benjamin after Bella's father, who'd passed away when she was young. Benjamin Xavier Cross. Maya declared him the cutest baby ever born and appointed herself his permanent protector. Life with a newborn was chaotic and exhausting and wonderful. Xavier was a hands-on father, changing diapers at 3 in the morning, walking Benjamin around the apartment during crying fits, learning to function on minimal sleep. Bella fell in love with him all over again, watching him with their son. "You're a natural at this," she said one night, watching Xavier rock Benjamin back to sleep. "I have a good teacher," he replied, nodding toward where Maya was asleep on the couch, having insisted on staying up to help. "She's pretty amazing, isn't she?" "She is. They both are." "You're all amazing, and I'm the luckiest man alive." Benjamin grew into a happy, easy baby. Maya was the doting big sister, always wanting to help, always checking on him. Bella's mother's condition worsened, her lucid days becoming rarer, but Xavier made sure she could visit and hold her grandson. made sure those moments were photographed and treasured. When Benjamin was 6 months old, Bella stood in the nursery one evening, watching Xavier read a story to both kids. Maya curled up on one side, Benjamin babbling happily on the other. She thought about that first dinner when she'd laid out all her baggage, expecting Xavier to run. She thought about all the times she'd waited for him to leave, for the fairy tale to end. But it hadn't ended. It had just become life. Real, messy, beautiful life with someone who'd meant every word he'd said. He had carried every piece of her baggage, never complained, never made her feel like she was too much. Instead, he'd shown her that the right person didn't see baggage. They saw a person worth fighting for. Xavier looked up and caught her watching, a smile spreading across his face. "Come here," he said, patting the space beside him. Bella settled in, Benjamin immediately crawling into her lap, Maya leaning against her shoulder. Xavier's arm came around all of them, holding his family close. "I love you," Bella whispered. "I love you too," Xavier replied. "Every piece. Forever." And for the first time in her life, Bella believed it completely. She'd spent so many years carrying her baggage alone, convinced that was her lot in life. But Xavier had shown her something different. He'd shown her that love wasn't about finding someone with no problems. It was about finding someone willing to help carry the weight. It was about building something together, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. Years passed in a blur of school events and business meetings and family dinners. Maya grew into a confident teenager, then a young woman heading off to college. Benjamin started kindergarten, then elementary school, already showing signs of his father's business acumen and his mother's analytical mind. Xavier and Bella celebrated their 10th anniversary with a trip back to the restaurant where they'd had their first date. They still held hands across the table, still found new things to talk about, still looked at each other with the same intensity that had been there from the beginning. "You remember what you said that first night?" Xavier asked. "About having too much baggage." "I remember you saying you'd carry it all," Bella replied. "I meant it. I know, you proved it every single day." She squeezed his hand. "Thank you for not running. Thank you for seeing past all the mess to what we could be. Thank you for letting me stay. For trusting me with your heart and your daughter and your life. You gave me a family, Bella. You gave me everything." They went home that night to their house. No longer the penthouse, but a real home in the suburbs, with a yard for Benjamin to play in and enough space for Maya, when she came home from college. They checked on Benjamin, asleep with a book still clutched in his hand, then stood together in the doorway of what had been Maya's room, now a guest room waiting for her visits. "We did good," Xavier said softly. "We did," Bella agreed, and it was true. They'd built something beautiful from a chance encounter and a willingness to try. They'd turned baggage into belonging, fear into faith, and a first date into a forever. It hadn't always been easy, but it had always been worth it. Because at the end of the day, love wasn't about perfection. It was about showing up, carrying each other's weight, and choosing to stay even when things got hard. Xavier had promised to carry every piece of her baggage and never complain once. He'd kept that promise every single day for over a decade. And Bella had learned to let him, had learned that accepting help wasn't weakness but trust, and that the right person made even the heaviest burdens feel lighter. As they got ready for bed that night, moving through their familiar routine, Bella caught Xavier's eye in the bathroom mirror. He winked at her, that same devastating smile that had made her say yes to a first date all those years ago. She smiled back, her heart full to bursting with love and gratitude and hope for all the years still to come. This was what happily ever after looked like. Not perfect, but real. Not easy, but worth fighting for. Not a fairy tale, but something better because it was theirs. And every single day they chose it. They chose each other. They chose love. That was the greatest gift Xavier had given her, not his wealth or his name or even his unwavering support, though those things mattered. The real gift was showing her that she was worthy of being chosen, baggage and all, that she didn't have to be perfect or problem-free to deserve love, that the right person wouldn't see her challenges as obstacles, but as part of her story, part of what made her strong and real and worth staying for. And in choosing to stay, in carrying her baggage day after day without complaint, Xavier had given Bella something she'd never had before, the certainty that she wasn't alone, that she would never be alone again, that they were in this together, for better or worse, through every challenge and triumph until the very end. It was everything she'd never dared to dream of, and it was real.